This is NBC Nightly News with Kate Snow.
Good evening. The warnings from government forecasters are blunt, calling the storm hitting California right now extremely dangerous and life-threatening. And late today, the governor declared a state of emergency. Much of the state bracing for a potentially catastrophic mix of rain or heavy snow and hurricane-force winds. Already, more than 360,000 people are without power, and that number is expected to grow. Strong waves have been slamming into San Francisco as evacuation orders go into effect in parts of Northern California, areas around Los Angeles and Santa Barbara. The storm, driven by what's known as an atmospheric river, is slowly rolling over California, and there are very real fears it may stall over the state, unleashing a dangerous amount of rain. Dana Griffin starts us off tonight in Santa Barbara.
Tonight, the first ever hurricane-force wind warning issued for California's central coastline, as wind gusts over 80 miles per hour are felt in Northern California. This tree crushing a car on the 101 freeway north of San Francisco. Hey! Firefighters work to free a man trapped inside. Officials confirming the driver has serious injuries. More than 600 properties have been ordered by officials to evacuate in Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and Ventura counties.
Hopefully it's not quite as bad as they say, but I got a bad feeling.
Many have chosen not to leave. Relentless weather causing concerns ahead of the Grammys' red carpet and postponing the final round of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Fierce wind grounding planes at San Francisco International Airport as schools in impact zones have been canceled Monday.
Life safety is our priority.
Fire Captain Scott Safechuck shows us the burn scar from the Thomas Fire and 2018 deadly mudslides in Montecito. This basin created to stop water and debris from reaching nearby homes. And that could be life-saving?
Absolutely, yeah. You can see some of the remnants of boulders that have been pulled out before, and really those are just a fraction of the size that came down during the debris flow. I mean, bigger than houses.
37 million, including San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Sacramento, under flood alerts.
As you heard, this storm that is coming our way is a major storm. It is another atmospheric river expected to last from this evening through Tuesday morning. It has been described by the Weather Service as having a, quote, high risk for life-threatening and damaging flooding.
And Dana's with me now. Dana, what are the biggest concerns in the next couple days?
So, Kate, continuous rain is causing concerns that creeks like this will overflow their banks. Things will start to dry out Tuesday, but the threat of landslides and downed trees could remain for days. Kate?
All right, Dana Griffin out there, thank you. It was 1 week ago exactly that 3 U.S. soldiers were killed when an Iranian-backed group struck a U.S. base. And now the fallout after the U.S. retaliated in a big way Friday night, hitting targets in Iraq and Syria. Those missiles, the White House says, were just the beginning. And tonight, Iran has a new warning for U.S. forces near the Red Sea. Keir Simmons reports from Erbil, Iraq.
The bodies of Iraqis killed in this weekend's airstrikes were buried today, with speeches from pro-Iranian leaders calling for America to be cleaned from the country. Iraq's prime minister visited the wounded in the hospital, the strikes aiming to punish Iran and Iranian-backed groups for the attack that killed 3 U.S. soldiers. But the Pentagon admitting today there are no reports of Iranians killed or injured. The Pentagon says Iran's Revolutionary Guard was targeted, and 48 hours later releasing some details of the impact. 84 buildings either damaged or destroyed, it says. Friday night was just the beginning, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told NBC's Kristen Welker.
Have you ruled out strikes inside Iran?
I'm not going to get into what we've ruled in and ruled out.
Iran producing this highly produced video, warning the U.S. not to target one of its ships, the MV Beshad, off the coast of Yemen, saying it's there to fight pirates. But the U.S. has accused Iran of providing the Houthis with intelligence, and experts believe that's Beshad's real role. They say it's a spy ship.
Wherever the Beshad goes happens to be more or less where the Houthis happen to be targeting their anti-ship ballistic missiles, suicide drones, and suicide boats.
A claim that fits with tracking data reviewed by NBC News. The Iranian video today ends with U.S. Navy carriers turning red. and a threat.
Those engaging in terrorist activities against Behshat or similar vessels jeopardize international maritime route security and assume global responsibility for potential future international risks.
This exclusive NBC News video from our team on board the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower last night as the US and UK launched 36 strikes against 13 Houthi targets. Today, igniting demonstrations in Yemen, Houthi leaders declaring, "You will not make us scared or weak."
And Keir joins me now from Iraq. Keir, all of this happening with the backdrop of the Israel-Hamas war, of course, and there's new effort on the diplomatic front there.
That's right, Kate. Secretary of State Blinken travelling to the region tonight to try to push again for a ceasefire in Gaza. He will stop in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Egypt, in Israel and in the West Bank. The Biden administration trying to deter Iran and achieve peace. Tonight, Kate, it looks like a battle on both fronts. Kate.
Keir Simmons for us. Keir, thank you. There's a deadly and dramatic natural disaster unfolding across the South American country of Chile tonight. Out-of-control wildfires have already killed nearly 100 people, and now they're closing in on major cities. Josh Letterman has the latest.
Tonight, a wind-whipped inferno in Chile, turning the skies into an orange hellscape. Thick smoke blanketing the densely populated Valparaiso region, normally a beachside paradise, now a death trap. President Gabriel Boric saying the death toll, already in the 60s by midday, quickly rising to 99 later Sunday, according to the medical examiner's office, is certain to rise even higher. That makes this Chile's worst natural disaster in nearly 15 years. Horrifying videos showing cars dodging flames on the highway. More than 1,300 homes destroyed in one area alone, Chile's government says. In some neighborhoods, almost nothing is left. We need help, this Viña del Mar resident says. Food for our pets, supplies. I lost my house, everything. Wildfires are common in the sizzling Chilean summer, but these flames are being fueled by intense heat, heavy winds, and low humidity, part of the El Niño weather system. Tonight, Chile's military is helping firefighters attack the blaze by plane, helicopter, and on the ground, battling wind gusts up to 37 miles an hour, with no end in sight. Josh Letterman, NBC News.
So destructive there. Back in this country, a new NBC News poll out today getting attention. It has President Biden with his weakest showing yet in a hypothetical matchup with former President Trump. The poll comes as immigration is set to dominate Capitol Hill this week. Aaron Gilchrist is at the White House with more.
Tonight, a new gauge of the fight ahead for President Biden's re-election. Republican frontrunner and former President Donald Trump increasing his lead in a new national NBC News poll, now up 5 points in a hypothetical general election matchup. Biden also trailing by double digits on the top issues for voters. Despite a growing economy, Trump is ahead by more than 20 points on that issue. The same goes for crime and violence. The president on the campaign trail celebrating a win in South Carolina's Democratic primary and spending Sunday night in Vegas ahead of Nevada's nominating contest. He's courting Latino voters, a critical voting bloc with whom our poll shows Biden and Trump tied. Biden also trailing Trump by more than 30 points on immigration and securing the border. The Senate releasing a new bipartisan immigration deal, which, if passed, would have the most sweeping reforms to the system in more than 2 decades.
And those who do not qualify will quickly be returned to their home countries.
But it may not stand a chance in the House, with Trump pushing Republicans to vote no.
The deal they're looking at is terrible. Any Republican that signs it should be ashamed of himself or herself.
Is Donald Trump calling the shots here, Mr. Speaker?
Of course not. He's not calling the shots.
They're not working to find real solutions for the American people. They are following orders from the former president.
At the border, Texas Governor Greg Abbott hosting Republican governors who oppose the deal and blasting President Biden.
The open border policies that Joe Biden has allowed can no longer be tolerated.
Meanwhile, presidential candidate Nikki Haley still making a big push to win the South Carolina Republican primary. And taking on both frontrunners on SNL.
Or 6 cents, remember that one? I see dead people.
Yeah, that's what voters will say if they see you and Joe on the ballot.
President Biden released a statement about the new border security deal, saying it's the toughest, fairest set of border reforms in decades, and saying he strongly supports it. Kate?
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you so much. Still ahead tonight, deadly carjacking. A former Trump official killed as thieves use violence to steal cars nationwide. Also, remember that terrifying video of a woman trying to save her dog from dog nappers? There's an arrest in the case. A former Trump official has died after being shot during a carjacking in Washington, D.C. It's the latest in a string of carjackings in the capital city and beyond, many caught on camera. Jesse Kirsch has details.
Following a violent carjacking spree in and around the nation's capital, tonight Washington, D.C. is remembering a community leader. The family of Mike Gill says he was shot Monday in his own vehicle and later died. His wife writing, "The father of three's sudden departure has left a void in our lives that can never be filled." Last week's series of attacks, just the latest in a rash of carjackings nationwide. In Oakland, California, this car swerved, blocking the road as a suspect gets out, pulling a gun on this approaching driver, who eventually drives away. And in nearby San Francisco, this car caught on camera flying through trees, flipping over and crash landing. That vehicle was also carjacked. Despite these headlines, the latest FBI data actually shows an overall drop in violent crime from January through September last year compared to 2022. That category includes carjackings. The FBI data shows auto thefts, however, did increase in larger American cities. Washington, D.C., however, is not in line with the national trend of violent crimes decreasing. In October, a congressman was carjacked about a mile from the U.S. Capitol.
I looked to the left, somebody had a gun. To the right, somebody had a gun. I had a third guy behind me. You got to stay calm.
Last year, homicides, sex abuse, assaults with a dangerous weapon, and robberies were all up in the city compared to 2022. And now Washington is under the microscope again, following the death of Gill, who had previously worked in the Trump administration. The former president writing, "Gill was a special person. His family and friends are devastated. The federal government must take over D.C." Ongoing challenges for a major U.S. city that tonight is again reeling from senseless violence. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News.